Okay, for the first video of Zodiac Signs, Enneagrams, and MBTI, we are taking the characters from my favorite sitcom, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and comparing them to the Zodiac signs they are most like. So let's get started right away. The first Zodiac sign in order is Aries, and I have paired the sign with Adrian Pimento. Adrian Pimento is known for being somewhat of a crazy hothead who has suffered a lot of trauma, but that has led him to be probably the most reckless character of all we've seen at the show, and this definitely fits Aries. Aries, as a fire sign, is going to be very aggressive, very energetic, very out there, very hyper. Aries are often really adventurous too, like Pimento is, especially as the cardinal fire sign. They're not going to want to change their minds a lot or want to stay in a solid fixture the entire time. They're constantly going to be rooting upwards, which can cause them to have the most energy and the most resilience out of all fire signs out there, which definitely describe Pimento. And there's also a saying that the earlier the zodiac sign is, the crazier it is. So with Pimento, in this case scenario, that definitely fits. So let's move on to our second sign, Taurus. Taurus, I'm sorry I had to do this to you, but this guy had to be some sign, and it just made the most sense for you. So Taurus, you are Michael Hitchcock. He can be somewhat creepy, gross, lazy, disgusting, and rude at times, but that is not what I'm saying Taurus is like. However, there are some parts of his personality that line up with Taurus. The main one being Hitchcock's stubbornness and fixed nature. Taurus is the fixed sign of the earth signs, which cause him to be some of the most stubborn, some of the most aggressive, and some of the most head-on, which is definitely a lot that we see from Hitchcock's character. He is very much so in his own wants and beliefs, and he doesn't let anybody change that or get in the way of that, which is very Taurus-like of him. However, a very good Taurus trait that he actually shows a lot is his loyalty. He is very close to his best friend Scully on the squad. Even though earth signs tend to be a lot more diligent and hard-working than Hitchcock is, I think it still fits. Hitchcock is definitely one of the dominant elements, which earth sign is, and I would say, yeah, he's more of a negative sign, which earth signs are, so Taurus fits best. And now we move on to the third zodiac sign, which is Gemini, and this might be very surprising to some people because I am putting the main character of our show, Jake Peralta, as a Gemini. Jake is very energetic, very socially adept, very playful, can be feisty at times when he feels like he's getting controlled, which is all very Gemini traits. There's this whole suspicion that Geminis are two-faced, which I don't really agree with. I see more Geminis as they have a lot of energy and they can put it towards good and they can put it towards bad. And we've seen Jake be in both situations where he has a lot of very good explosive positive energy, but also I need to pave my own path and fight against the rules, feisty Gemini energy. Geminis, again, tend to be some of the most friendliest signs, some of the most likable, socially adapt, which all describe Jake. The big difference between fire and air signs is that the fire is the dominant one, while air tends to be the more submissive, fickle one, which I think actually fits better for Jake because his mind and his attitude and his opinion tends to change a lot, and he can work a lot around with the people around him. He has a typical mix of weirdness and uniqueness, along with the sweetness and general love of people as an air sign does, and also the just enjoy life and see where it takes his attitude of immutable signs. So I think Gemini works really well. Now, for our fourth sign, we are moving on to Cancer, which I have chosen the character, Kevin Costner. Cancer is the cardinal water sign, and that also definitely describes Kevin. He is very upward. He always wants to be the most prestigious and the most righteous and not let any obstacles back him down or make him lose his focus. He always wants to be going. However, just like Cancers are water signs, Kevin shows that he is a water sign as well. He can be very emotional and reactive to certain situations, especially when you put him next to HOLT, who is very unlike that. He can also be very sensitive and have a strong need for reassurance, which is also a common water trait. He can be very pragmatic, somewhat pessimistic, but very smart and very nurturing. And this is essentially what Cancer is, which is why I think Kevin's a Cancer. Now moving on to Leo. This one was also very obvious for me, but I know a lot of people think differently. But for Leo, I picked Gina Linetti. Gina isn't one to change her mind a lot. Gina is not very good at adapting to situations because she's often stuck in her own mindset. We don't really see like other sides of Gina's personality seep through oftenly. We kind of see this strong and fierce wall built around her that she constantly likes to protect herself by, which is more of a very fixed way of approaching life, which is why I will say Leo. Gina has a lot of traits associated with a typical Leo. She is extremely bold, she's extremely fierce, she's extremely blunt and determined, she goes after what she wants, she can be vain, she's always very enthusiastic, she's very charismatic, she's often the most memorable of the group, can also be somewhat selfish and self-centered. Lots of Gina's traits are very, very Leo-like, and definitely the dominance and straight-headed and leadership that all fire signs, and the confidence, especially that all fire signs have. Alright, so our next sign is Virgo, and this might be another controversial opinion, but I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine's Virgo is ROSA DIAZ. Rosa is very unemotional. She very rarely shows her emotions, and she only tends to show them or cry in very serious situations. Her attitude and ability to scare people very easily and know what she wants is also a very dominant sign. Obviously, her dark perception of life is very negative. Rosa is kind of too carefree and detached to really be a fixed sign. She kind of, like Jake in a way, just takes things as they come and is just good at enjoying life and whatever comes to her in different situations. Rosa also has a lot of the typical traits associated with Virgo. Rosa can be very critical and pragmatic and analytical towards herself and others like Virgos can be, but she's also very helpful. She has a strong sense of duty. She's a very logical and rational thinker, and her sense of sarcastic humor also very aligns with Virgos. So I totally see Rosa as a possible Virgo. Moving on to the second half of the signs, the next sign we have is Libra, which I chose Charles Boyle. Charles Boyle is very caring, very generous. He prizes his friendship with Jake a lot. He can be a little ditzy at times, a little over the top. He has very unique passions and interests, can be dramatic. These are all extremely Libra-like qualities. Charles is definitely an air sign and definitely a cardinal sign. He has a very upwards attitude in the way he looks for the most ideal version of everything, having the most ideal friendship, the most ideal performance, the most ideal food taste, the most ideal wedding. It can be sometimes hard to calm and ground Charles down because he's always projecting for the best and most elaborate option, which can often be a struggle for cardinal signs. He'll always be the great friend for you to stick by your side and encourage you no matter what, which is very positive Libra traits. The character that most people thought is Virgo is the character that I think is a Scorpio, and that character is Amy Santiago. Most Scorpios that I've met, when I first met them, are actually tend to be on the mellow and shy side, which Amy can also originally come off of. Scorpios are very giving, very welcoming, and very loving people, which Amy also is as well. She has one of the most tender-hearted characters on the show. And Amy definitely is not a dominant sign. She'll definitely change for anyone around her, and her emotions change very easily. Scorpio being the fixed water sign also fits Amy pretty well. She seems like she just wants stability. She tends to be in a similar mindset throughout the whole show. Scorpios are known to possibly be overly emotional, overreactive, and jealous, which we see Amy have a lot. Scorpios are also very resourceful and can be somewhat possessive, which Amy definitely has shown to Captain HOLT. So I think overall Amy fits as a Scorpio really well. The next sign we have is my very own Sagittarius, and the character that I chose for this sign is Doug Judy. Doug Judy shows a lot of typical Sagittarius characteristics. He is very optimistic, very determined, very curious, very creative, can also be sassy and savage and mischievous though, and blunt, and can always have a bit of a love for drama and can put an overly chaotic spin on situations. But we can tell that Doug Judy is still a dominant sign because he's very clear about his own life choices. And obviously Doug Judy is a mutable sign like Jake. They both have fun because they're both able to adapt to different situations and are constantly able to take on like different personas and portray themselves in different ways and have fun in all the different ways imaginable and just live life as it comes and constantly be changing in all these different emotions and attitudes and have fun rolling with it all. Very mutable style friendship. Alright, let's move on to our last earth sign now, Capricorn, which I have chose Captain Raymond HOLT. Raymond HOLT is definitely an earth sign. He is a negative sign, but he is very dominant. He is very unemotional, unexpressive, and is very certain of what he wants, and he's very good at leadership and commanding people. He is also definitely a cardinal sign. He wants to hold himself to the highest degree. He wants to be very prestigious. He wants to be very upright and proper, which are all indicators of cardinalness. The typical Capricorn traits that HOLT shows a lot on the good side is he is very disciplined, he is an extremely hard worker, and he also is very caring in a more like parental role. Some negative traits of Capricorn that we do see HOLT have is sometimes being overly serious, not knowing how to loosen up. And Capricorns can also be very entitled to their beliefs and work ethics and might not want to hear other people out because they think their way is the best and the most efficient. And we've seen Captain Holt have that many times, so I think Captain Holt is the perfect Capricorn. Alright, and now we have the last two signs. Our Brooklyn Nine-Nine Aquarius is Terry Jeffords. I think what his most Aquarius quality is throughout the show is his mama hen attitude, how he's very kind and he is very humanitarian, which are some of Aquarius' stronger traits. They always believe in the good cause. They'll always try to get everybody to be on their morally best and appropriate behavior. And they tend to just want to be a good, righteous person who is involved in very advocating social situations. He has that uniqueness and likability that all air signs have. However, this persona of Aquarius can often lead to the bad trait of them appearing as fake and insincere because they also have such humanitarian causes within them. They can also be very opinionated about society and how it should work and what morals and values should be displayed, and we definitely see that a lot with Terry as well. Alright, and now we move on to our final zodiac sign and the last character that I have chosen for today, Norm Scully. Pisces as a water sign, again, sensitive, emotional, caring, but as a mutable sign, Pisces can be a little bit head of the clouds and not really care what's going on and just enjoying life, being just like sweet and nice and going around, which very well describes Scully's character as kind of the naive detective. However, he is also a negative sign because he can be very anxious and very scared and shy, and he can also often fade to the background compared to the positive, more lively, energetic, crazier characters. And of course, him living in his own world, eating all the food he wants, not really caring about the medical issues what others think of him. That is Pisces responding to their own needs and wants. So anyways guys, that wraps up the end of Brooklyn Nine-Nine characters as zodiac signs. I hope you guys liked the first video of this series. I don't know if I've ever seen zodiac signs portrayed in a show so well of what real life people of signs can actually look like. And it's kind of crazy how the main 6 characters show like 3 opposite pairs in zodiac signs, how Jake and Holt are Gemini and Capricorn, and we see the opposites of them, and then Gina and Amy as Leo and Scorpio, and then Charles and Rosa as Libra and Virgo, and how all 3 of these pairs, whenever they're around each other, they have a very conflicting difference in opinions, but their relationship grows throughout the show because they learn how to be more around each other. And we see Gemini and Libra, the air sign friendship between Charles and Jake, and how that compares to Rosa and Holt, which is the earth sign kind of friendship and co-worker bond between them. It's kind of interesting to hear, to see how 2 people of the similar elements can ultimately interact together and be friends with one another. And I think for Gemini and Scorpio to generally not be considered one of the best matches, Jake and Amy have a really good and really well thought out Gemini and Scorpio relationship, and you can still tell that they're a Gemini and Scorpio, but just found ways to healthily communicate with one another. So that's why I love this show so much, not just because of the zodiac signs, but just of how well these characters are written and their interactions with one another. I think it's amazing. So anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to click that subscribe button because it'll help my channel blossom, and I would love to see it do that. But most importantly, smile, shine, be happy, and go watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine if you have not. Bye bye!